this computer. Fabulous. There we go. So, Tracy, if you would like to take it away.
Thank you, Ellie. Thanks for the introduction as well. Hello, everybody. I am Tracy. I'm head of design at Conscious. I've been here for, I think I'm in my 19th year. Every time I say that out loud, it sounds like an even bigger number than it was the day before. But thank you all for joining today. I'm going to talk about what you can do to get the best from your website for your firm. It sounds like quite a simple task, but there's much more to it than just looking good and having a beautiful website. So we put together an agenda for the day, which is the next slide, Ellie, please.
Yep.
Now, we've got a few things to cover. Signs that your site might be outdated, trends for 2026, talk a bit about typography and imagery, which is obviously a big part of it as well for the visual side of it. And then we'll talk a little bit about what we're seeing happening at Conscious. It all moves so quickly, so we all have to be on our toes all the time. And then there's the opportunity to ask some questions at the end as well. So if I was to turn up in my latest smart casual outfit, say pink fluffy jumper or anything like that, you'd probably think, yeah, she looks okay, on a good day. But if I was to show more of my character, if I was authentic in the way I spoke or told my story, if I had a voice and an opinion and I shared my purpose, then I would be so much more than what I look like, and you would notice more, really. And a website is much the same. So regardless of latest trends, showing who you are, what you do, and why you do it will help you understand what makes you individual. I think it's almost the key part to any design is just putting across your authentic self. Whenever we do any designs at Conscious, I always like to think that when we present anything, that whoever, even if it's a brand new brand, a completely new makeover of what the firm has already got, I like to think that they recognize themselves in it. And then you know that you've kind of ticked that authentic mark, really. So let's go on to the next screen. So what a law firm website looks like in 2026. Like I said, things change very, very quickly. They're no longer digital brochures. If you're doing just a site for a brochure, then you're really missing a trick because they are strategic tools to help grow your business. Um, Clear positioning within the first 5 seconds of someone going to your site. So let them know what it is that you do and be confident in who you are and what you have to offer. Go beyond the obvious kind of messaging, and AI can help. We're using Chat GPT lots. It's helping me lots with the kind of like key messaging that we do. But don't be afraid to have a strong point of view. Not the generic trusted legal experts messaging. Think of something that really represents you and that just sounds a little more unique, but like you've actually said it rather than just kind of regurgitated it. Think about a distinct brand personality as well. Um, Work on your brand and understand who you are as a firm. People buy into a brand that they trust. Our Conscious brand, we've worked on this for years, and I think I read that it takes about 4 years for a firm to become truly embedded, and that's from top management to everybody else who's kind of working in the team. At Conscious, everybody would know us for being bright orange, and that's almost like that flash of orange that comes into the room, and that's what you see first of all. But we have really strong core values that have really helped how we present ourselves and how we work. Generous, transparent, collaborative, empowered, and inquisitive. And it's how we talk to each other, it's how we support each other, it's how we look after our clients, it's our whole approach. And that kind of filters through everything that we do. I would really recommend kind of really working on the brand of your firm and kind of embed that in kind of everything that you do. Streamlined navigation focused on client journeys. it is all about the user experience. Having a really good user experience on your site will keep people on the site for one. It will help them navigate and get to where they are, they're trying to find the information. It will help them get in touch with you really, really quickly as well. But the whole experience for them will be a positive one, which will ultimately, hopefully, lead to inquiries. And then mobile first. I put these two together. I should have actually separated them. Mobile first. We have in the legal sector, I looked up the figures and I know it's more for some of the clients that we work for, depending on the type of law that they're specializing in. But 30 to 55% of traffic comes from a mobile first inquiry, which just shows the importance of, making sure that it works really well on mobile. But it gives you the opportunity to kind of like streamline the kind of content that you have, which is really important. And again, make it very easy for people to access how to contact you. The second one on that line was accessibility. This is almost like the hot topic for us at the moment. I don't know if Ellie's come across that more as well in marketing, but certainly in the design and build, we used to kind of think of it as especially me as a designer would think, I love those colors and I will make them work. And, we'd have, orange on a yellow or, colors that would clash and things like that. Well, there's a very different way of looking at it now, and it's all about making sure that everybody who comes to the site is able to, see everything on the site, really. So we're talking about really clear contrast, good open typefaces, good, even like letter spacing and things like that. Good contrast of colors. We have like tools that we use to kind of test the how good the contrast is with a density and what have you as well. So that's been a really important part of our design process. And then fast load speeds and performance optimization. It goes without saying that if you come to a website and it's taking ages to load, then you're just not going to hang around really. We do everything we have. We're constantly testing and finding new ways to optimize the content that we have on our websites. So fast load speeds and a really good performance, knowing what will slow down a website and what things will work to make it load quicker are all key things really to consider. Um, I'm sure with the accessibility, I'm sure Ellie, you'll probably be having a session about accessibility at some stage, I would have thought.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add, Tracy, with what you mentioned about like accessibility and in marketing, a big thing that we see, probably not so much with websites, but emojis and like how emojis can kind of clutter like the dialogue on a screen reader. So I imagine with design, that kind of all ties in nicely. But yeah, we will be having a session on accessibility as well.
Yeah, that sounds great. What else are we seeing on websites? Kind of quality kind of video used intentionally, sort of, for welcome messages, videos about your services. Again, it puts the person kind of in front of you and it gives you that genuine person talking about their services. So, you build up that trust with that person if you like what they're saying. Content hubs instead of static blog pages. Great to kind of collate all of the content that's relevant to a particular subject, sort of, rather than having it just, kind of like dotted around a bit more randomly. But it makes for ease of using it for the user to be able to come to a page, search for a certain amount of subjects, and there are blogs, case studies, that kind of thing that all relate to that particular subject. Of course, strong local SEO structure for UK regional firms. SEO is like a key part and will continue to be one of the big things in 2026. And in 2026, credibility is assumed. I would expect you to be professional and approachable and friendly. It's what every law firm says to us. If we said, what makes you different? All those things, yes, All of those things do make you a great law firm, but it's that differentiating aspect, that little 10% that makes you unique to your competitors or why somebody would choose you over a competitor. It's those little things that will make the small margins and make the conversions as well. And then, yes, AI, another big one. I'm sure we'll be having another webinar on that at some stage. Integrated AI featured, we have this AI assisted search that's changing how content is discovered on our sites as well. Chatbots, that kind of thing. So much technology is helping us, design and build websites that perform so much better. So next one. So signs your website might be outdated. So I hope when we get through some of these things, there's not a few of you saying, goodness me, that's definitely ours. If you are, you know where to come to get a nice new website. So the image, it's a little bit small, but if you can see that on the right-hand side, this was one of our very first websites that we ever did. And we keep knocking on their door and saying, please, can we update it for you? But they are absolutely wed to it and love how it is. And funnily enough, we kind of all jokingly say it probably performs quite well because it doesn't have quite so much of the clutter or the images or the animation or anything. It's an absolutely basic one. But other signs your site might be outdated. Poor navigation and too much clutter. We try and keep navigation really simple and just give people a few choices rather than having the width of the navigation bar is filled with like way too much. We're trying to kind of send you down a journey so that you'll find where you're going to much, much easier. Too much clutter on the page as well. Sometimes stuff you think is good or it's kind of been on there for a long time and it just gets outdated and then it just clutters like with the Ellie's emojis. To try and reduce that clutter. Too much clutter is a big giveaway. The generic stock photos as well, handshakes, dare I say gavels, and real people with smiles that cannot be real. And sadly, the local landmark, and I've put a local landmark in because, um, we obviously do a lot of websites and do designs for high street farms who have, live and work in, beautiful market towns. But if you have to think if you lived and worked in Brighton and you think, oh, I absolutely want Brighton Pier or the beach on my website, you won't be the only law firm, but you won't be the only business. And you could find that you are one of many businesses that have that same kind of landmark photograph. So trying to kind of go beyond the first and second page of the iStock libraries and just try and look for something that will make you a little bit more individual, really. Certainly editing images as well can just make them more bespoke. Long paragraphs of text, which the site on the right-hand side does beautifully, Bobbitt's site. Reams of text with little hierarchy. We're so used nowadays to scrolling through the phone, scanning web pages. If we can break them up into more bite-sized pieces, so have subheadings and a paragraph of text or bullet pointed items, FAQs that reveal the text. We've got quite lazy at how we consume our text, really. And, to just especially, I mean, if Bobbitt's was on a mobile device, you would be scrolling forever for that sort of what looks more like an A4 page of content. So that's pretty heavy. No clear call to action. This is key to making it very easy. Our MD Dan always says, don't make me work too hard, and that sticks with me in every design that I do. Don't make people look too hard to try and find how to contact you. Call to action are the things that can like pop out of a page and can intersperse the content as well, making it very easy for people to have read something, engage with something, but not stop in their flow and think, I have to go and find where the telephone number is. That gets quite frustrating. So, really good call to action is key. And your site being optimized for core web vitals. It's a ranking factor that Google uses to reward sites that provide a fast and smooth user experience. So it's just making sure it ticks all the boxes for a good performing website that is easy to use and just well optimized. Signs your site might be outdated. If you've got recent insights and news stories that were dated kind of, 2017, or, we've got badges on there and awards that maybe you're very proud of, but they're actually, coming up for 6, 7 years old. It's best if you kind of like just put those away somewhere safely. It's a sign of sort of inactivity, and that you just don't care quite so much about the content. And then accessibility hasn't been reviewed. So, you may have images. I saw a site the other day and they had a video and it was like a minty green background and it was quite dynamic, but the titles and the navigation were in white and you could barely see, distinguish what they were actually saying. So things like that will pretty much a kind of a giveaway as to your site looking quite outdated. So trends for 2026. So next one, please, Ellie. So what are we seeing a shift towards? I've put a couple of examples of some sites that we've designed recently. We talked a lot about being authentic, and authenticity, I think, builds trust in any kind of relationship, really. A human-focused design. So making sure that it's, very genuine. And if you have, say, photographs of your team on there, they're definitely your team rather than trying to make out that you're in some glassy offices in London or something like that. Authenticity is key. Editorial inspired layouts. So, they're really inspired by all of the lovely glossy publications. So, magazines like Homes and Gardens, which is probably showing my age here, but taking inspiration from them really. Grid systems are great, and as a designer, I like everything ordered and in its place and to have a structure to it. And certainly the developers would say absolutely the same. When somebody visits a site and there is order and structure to the site, they kind of feel comfortable and they know where it goes and it flows. But it doesn't mean that everything has to be really rigid. We're seeing a lot more asymmetrical designs and stronger kind of visual hierarchy. So you can see the two sites to the right. The first one for Wiggins, lovely kind of offset panels and using typography so that the messaging is much more kind of dynamic and much more visual, bigger kind of testimonial quotes and overlaying kind of panels that kind of guide you down through the page. And then the image to the right hand side, this is a new design we're doing for Belderboss. They have this lovely little badge on their icon for as part of their brand. And so to bring in curves that reflect that as well. When we were talking to these guys, they're family law specialists, and we were saying how important it is to present yourself for the service that you're offering. And they had these beautiful color palettes. It was the plum and the teal color and then the icy blue. And we rounded off all the corners of the call to action. So all of the links, the buttons, everything like that, the boxes have all got like rounded corners. So it's much kind of softer. And then adding that kind of hot pink for the call to action makes that really kind of jump out. But that softness that we carry through with softer background images, authentic looking imagery as well. So yeah, so I'm covered in there, bold, purposeful typography, um, making sure that those typefaces really work for you, but don't be afraid to be kind of distinctive with them. Minimalist, clean visual language. Yes, bite-sized pieces of content that are easy to digest. And then real, authentic, intentional photography. Really think about those images that you have that represent you. It's good to see that people recognize themselves in the type of images you're using. AI-driven experiences. So like we talked about before, like the chatbots that we use as well. Personalization is definitely going to become even a bigger thing that we'll see in the next few years. And then again, enhanced accessibility as standard. So making sure that everything is, read by all, and it just makes for a more inclusive website. So, next one, Ellie, typography-led design. I love typography. Back in the day when we were first doing Bobbitts and McCann and sites like that, and I didn't check, but I think they're probably still using the same font. But back in the day, the only fonts that we had to choose from, which are the Microsoft fonts, the Verdana, Trebuchet, Tahoma, Arial. I think there was one more, and I can't quite remember what the last one was. And so limiting as to, if you wanted anything that was much lighter, or, it was very difficult to make something look elegant. But nowadays, there are so many beautiful fonts for you to choose from. Google is a great resource. Google Fonts we use on most of our websites, and it seems like every month they're adding new fonts to it. There's been a real shift towards really elegant serif fonts, the ones with the little, like the tails and the tabs, and the flourish is a little bit more to them. So typography is definitely making an impact on design work that we're doing at the moment. I described it as doing the heavy lifting. It's almost one of the things that makes your website look quite distinctive. Larger, confident headlines create authority. So you'll see in the design to the right, the fonts are really standing out as like those bigger, bolder, confident kind of headlines. There's key trends including, maximalist, large-scale typography. I've seen some sites. I'm doing one at the moment where it's only 3 words, but it's running the full width of the screen. It's kind of knocked back and semi-transparent, but it's got a really punchy, dynamic look to it, and it shows a real confidence and certainly grabs attention. A little bit of movement in there as well is great, but anything like that is vital for engagement. More white space and reduced paragraph density for easier scanning. I say white space, don't necessarily mean that every background has to be white. We can be using, a strong, as long as there is a contrast, it can be a dark color, but the space is between the paragraphs and between the line spacing, so that content looks much more kind of open and just much, much easier to read, really. Great, so much better for usability. And there's a revival of elegant serifs and retrofuturism. So I've recently been working on a site. It just takes me back to the 70s, this site, but it won't be for everybody. And I think sometimes some fonts are a little Marmite. But if you're bold and brave enough and you own it, then to find a font that is distinctive and, just sets you apart again, just shows a real style and a real confidence. And certainly the retro stuff is quite kind of playful. So if that suits your brand, then that's actually quite a nice way to go as well. So choosing the right images for your law firms. I put a few little samples here. Um, It's almost one of the most difficult things from a design perspective to get right. We kind of pride ourselves. I very happily will spend a few hours looking on stock library because that's often our go-to and our resource. If you have the luxury of original photography and have the budget for that, then that's absolutely fantastic. It's often not the case. Maybe it's original photography for your star photographs, obviously, but for the images that kind of support your brand, that's quite an expense that not everybody has. So, imagery for law firms in 2026, what's out? Like we said before, generic stock images. Um, I see a lot of websites, and I recognize the same guy on many different websites, and I probably use some of them myself as well. So, if I've seen them, other people are going to be seeing the same images used. And anything overstaged and obvious, it's again, it's moving away from kind of genuine authenticity and really presenting yourself how you are, how you want to be seen, rather than trying to create an impression that doesn't really suit your brand. But what's in? What works now is authenticity and real offices. There's a firm we've worked with, Frettons, and that top right-hand image, they just absolutely got it right. We had a great, and actually their website is a few years old now, but we had a great experience with them designing their website. And they were such a colourful, happy, very cohesive group of people. They were absolutely brilliant. And we've got them doing candid shots as well. This is one of their stars of photography. We use this as a good example of, authentic and genuinely looking like they're approachable and professional, but it's still very, very friendly. And they used a lot of their candid shots on pages like their careers page, and they've got a lovely little gallery that shows, and I know they update it fairly regularly, but they have images of events that they go to and just really shows exactly who they are, which I think is such a plus for them. Yeah, your real offices, people, if they do come to your office, they won't be impressed if they've seen some glossy, glassy office and then your office is more kind of like rural based or anything. It's like just creating the wrong impression. So real people, natural light, documentary style, that candid kind of very natural kind of look is the best way to go. As we talked before, video adds to the human feel. That's great. I don't think you can hide behind a video. And, certainly if it's professionally done, but I know a lot more people are doing quite kind of a natural, set it up and go because again, it's just got a very kind of genuine feel to it. Original photography, as we talked with personality, that's great if the budget allows. And another thing that we do a lot of is more abstract imagery, and I've put a couple of samples here. We've got Judicare, who are a really lovely international property firm. So their existing site, the images they used were very much like beautiful beaches and locations for all the locations across the world that they have. But it made them look like a travel site and made them look very much like every other competitor in the same area of work. So we suggested this more abstract approach, and it just looks luxury and high end. We downloaded images from iStock, so these are just stock images. But what we did do is spend the time to go in and edit them so that it kind of matched their brand colors. And we came out with a really nice set of very luxury looking sort of abstract imagery that they were really pleased with. And it gives the whole site a really distinct look. The other little one I wanted to show you was this is from a firm called Glover's, a London based, more of a boutique firm. And it was using um, photography that kind of the subjects would relate to the services. So I've got like an artichoke there for the hospitality, but again, it was kind of really zooming in and using it in a much more abstract way, but still with that kind of tenuous connection to the type of service that they offer. But again, going in and editing so that they've got this beautiful set of brand colors, making sure that each of the images within those services would kind of like sit really nicely within the brand as well. So yeah, interesting for imagery and how it's going, but it's very nice to see that authenticity is certainly winning out at the moment. So what we're seeing at Conscious, so I was saying at the beginning, everything is moving so quickly. Top trends. So I think, yeah, it's easy to talk about colors and things like that. But I think if you have a color palette that you love, um, own your color palette. If you know, you don't have to just ditch a color because it's not on trend at the moment. I think, quite honestly, I think anything goes, but I think it's just using it really well and then maybe looking to see if you can extend the palette. I always like to put a dark, deep base color in there as well, and that can actually really elevate a color palette as well. So firms investing in brand before website, they're realizing that actually it's, you know, it's a really important part of how they present themselves, building that brand. And it's not just an outward thing. It's like I said at Conscious, it starts from the top and then filters through the whole firm, really. Um, you know, you sort of, it has to be ingrained and everybody knows, you know, why we're here and why we're doing it and what we're doing it for. Um, so that's been really interesting that that has, you know, become quite an important thing. The logo that I've just shown to the right-hand side is for a little firm called Postlethwaite, employee ownership solicitors based in London, and we've just done this rebrand for them. Have to say, I had the best time with the color palette. They were starting from scratch, and their competitors were kind of like a mid blue and yellow, very much kind of IKEA colors. So we were looking around at what everyone else was doing, and then came up with this lovely color palette, which is it just it kind of misses all of like the primary colors, but gives them that this beautiful modern fresh color palette to play with. And on the site we kept it really simple, and with the icon we've actually got a lovely kind of animation, so when you go to the site it kind of like loads beautifully. So little touches like that, we're keeping it like really fresh. So, what are other trends? Bold decisions to stand out from their competitors. I think that's probably always been the case, but maybe people are getting a bit braver about realizing you have to have well, you have to have confidence and you do have to be bold in your decisions and maybe go for the less traveled path sometimes. You know, it still has to meet all of the criteria and the regulations and the accessibility and things like that, but being bolder about, you know, how you want to present yourselves is it's just going to get you noticed and hopefully more success. Managing partners more involved in digital strategy, yeah, just really understanding that it helps build your business. You know, your website is a key business tool for you to use. A move away from we do everything messaging, but presenting more of a clear niche or strength. It's very difficult when you have you know, lots and lots of services that you want everything to kind of have the same importance. Sometimes it's better for the website to really kind of like just limit the amount of services that you have. You will always have access to all of those services within the menu anyway, but maybe you pick key services and just kind of like present things in a cleaner, more minimal way, rather than like I saw a site a few years ago, and there must have been about 12 different service blocks on there that is just a bit too overwhelming, really. There's a determination to know the audience and speak directly to defined client groups. A real push towards really targeting content to who it is actually looking for that content and making sure that they find it. That's been a big thing as well. And then using the website as a thought leadership platform. So yeah, just having those blogs or those insights, making sure that you have opinions and that they can be found on the relevant pages within your website as well. We're also seeing a growing demand for accessibility audits, making sure that the site meets all of those accessibility standards, and clear diversity and inclusion positioning as well. So it's a central to firm growth rather than just a side project when you take on a website. So some questions to ask your designer. So if you're at that stage and you're looking at your website, you want to ask questions that will get you results. And if you're looking at your existing site at the moment and you're looking and thinking, does our design reflect our positioning? Are we making sure that people understand exactly what it is that we do? What makes us visually different from our competitors? It's such a competitive world out there to, I said before, to find that differentiator, it is quite difficult, and it's a challenge to find the thing that makes you different, that you can kind of support and genuinely work through as well. But it's the thing that will engage people or choose you over somebody else. And what problem is our website actually solving? When people come to your website, are you giving them the tools to be able to, move forward and engage you? And do you have the content there to back up what you're offering as well? Who is it truly for? Do you know your audience well enough, and do you know who it is that you're targeting? How are we measuring performance? How do you know which pages are working really well for you if you're not, if you haven't, say, got Google Analytics that can tell you what part of the site never gets any inquiries, or what part is? Again, that question on accessible, how accessible is it? We have different tools. We can do accessibility audits to kind of check that you meet the standards there. So a website shouldn't just look good on launch day. It should support your firm's ambitions long term. So it's building a website to start with. I always find it quite interesting when someone's had a website for a long time, it can seem really daunting that you want everything on the website as soon as you start to redesign it and build it. It's a movable feast, I always say, that you come to the website and you have everything that you can get on it that is, going to engage clients and give them the content that they need, make it easy for them to get in contact with you, find people, showcase who you are and what you can do. I think it's also a good place for, recruitment as well, and a place for your team to feel they belong and they are part of something that they are proud of as well. So it can just be a starting point. Often in design briefings, we'll get carried away and we'll say, oh, it'd be great to have a careers page. It'd be great to have this kind of page, an events page and things. And a lot of those things often have to be like a phase two. So that's what I mean when it's a movable feast. It's a great starting point, but it should never be static. It should always be growing. It should always be moving forward, and you should always be looking at, what it can do for you and how to get the best results. So yes, questions for me.
So on that, I'm just going to stop sharing just so I can check if we have anything in the chat. It doesn't look like we do, but
I've
yeah, if
stunned
any,
everyone into silence, I think.
you've just covered all bases, Tracy. But yeah, feel free to unmute if you did have any questions or pop anything in the chat at the moment. Aaron, I know that you've just raised your hand, so please unmute.
Um, yeah, sorry, I actually clapped my hands by accident first. It was a
Oh,
good it was a good presentation, Tracy, but it was an accident still. Um, no, I just basically wanted to ask. So, I mean, all the design stuff there sounded and looked great, and I would like agree with it. All looks amazing. But do you ever find? I'm thinking like if I was redoing my website, I would maybe find that some of that stuff might clash with SEO. I mean, do you ever like come across those issues? And if so, like, do you have any examples or how do you usually deal with that?
Yeah, it's websites often come into kind of two categories, and it always used to be quite clearly defined. It used to be, oh, is it more of a website brochure or is it lead generation? And that's how we used to kind of approach it really. But because it is such a, a dynamic tool for you to use, really, we really like that's our kind of first port of call really is to make sure that SEO would be kind of a key factor that we would consider when we're designing the website. It almost goes against the grain to not have that on board, really. But I think it's a decision for the firm to make that, how much of a lead generating site do you want it to be? Because it could be lead generating on a scale of kind of 1 to 10. So that the 10 is the Irwin Mitchells and the Gordon Slaters of this world that are, lots of call to action throughout and, really pushing the messaging throughout the whole thing. It's a different type of site to say, I don't know if you may be familiar with, say, McFarlane's or some of the high end kind of that would not want to put their telephone number on there or any call to action or an open form. So, yeah, we have firms that come to us and they do sit within that kind of 1 to 10, really. We would always encourage them to do as much as they can to get the most out their SEO and, make it a lead generating site because in our books, that's how we'll help them be more successful. But it's not for everybody, and it's absolutely down to the firm and down to the brand, and they kind of get to that decision at the time of a design briefing, really. Does that help?
Yeah, no, that explains it perfectly. Thanks very much.
We have a question from Melissa. Apologies, Melissa, I missed that initially. But Melissa asks, says initially, we use graphics of people slash services on our website instead of photography. This is carried through on all of our advertising, etc. What's your view on graphics, Tracy?
Yeah, I like a good graphic, I have to say. I think it kind of I think it can break up the page as well. I think if it's going to be text heavy, and is it purposefully because you don't want to use images in there as well? Or I think a mix of both is really good. I think if the graphics are, kind of stylized.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, we can
Yeah,
hear you.
perfect. Sorry, I haven't got my camera on. I've come on my camera's on my laptop. I'm doing from the desktop. Yeah, it's something I inherited, to be honest, since I started, but we've always had very positive feedback. And we run a mystery shopper program, and when we get critiqued on the website, people's experience, and they've always said that they find it very fresh and clean. But we've had it now for about 7 years, and I'm wondering whether we should consider now going a bit more authentic photography. I like
Yeah,
the graphics, but I don't know whether they've had their time.
yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if it's, I think I said them on the slides, if it's worked for you, you kind of you don't really want to kind of throw everything out. I mean, maybe it's something that can still be carried through, but just maybe they're repurposed in a different way. So maybe if they were used in quite a big way before, maybe they're much smaller, and used in certain parts of the site. Or it could be the opposite if they're very small icons, graphics, maybe it's something that's bigger and used as watermarks or so there's kind of like lots of different things. It's a shame
Yeah.
if it's an identifiable bit of your branding,
Mm.
it would be a
Yes,
shame
it
to
is.
lose it if it's something that you still like. But a bit of a facelift and a refresh can be really, really positive, I think.
Yes, I think that's the way forward. Lovely, thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So Laura has added something to the chat, and Laura asks, are trends important? If so, how would you integrate trends without risking consistency and individuality?
Yes, I know. I think as I've got older, um, you realize that trends go round and round. They seem to come round very quickly. When I was talking about like the 70s fonts and things like that, um, it's very difficult. I think it's really good to kind of like what you like and be proud of what you like. I think it's good to know what's out there and be aware of them. But I think a trend can, if you kind of go too extreme and follow the trend to the letter, then I think you can look outdated quite quickly because it's very fast paced out there. But I would say, like, that. A lot of trends are, there's just like so many different trends as well. I don't know that I could even say particularly one thing that I would say you would recognize as 2026. Nothing particularly stands out as being the one thing that makes it look like this year. It's still a lot of, stuff that we had last year, but moving into a better place, really. Probably a bit more refined.
Thank you. And just to follow on that, Emma, and sorry, Charlotte, I will go on to you in a second, but this kind of ties in nicely. So Emma asks, how long do trends typically last, if you found, just wondering about the longevity of a website. So I guess that kind of ties in a little bit to what you were just saying, Tracy.
Yeah, I think you need to be kind of looking 3, 4 years. I think people probably start looking at redoing a website maybe at 4 years. So by the time you get the project off the ground, it's probably more like 5 years. But stuff is moving along quite quickly. And we find we do have clients who have been with us for a long time that they'll have a refresh that can just bring it into, up to speed as well, rather than like a major overhaul. So that's actually a very good way of doing it and keeping it sort of up to date.
Amazing. And Charlotte, actually, you've got your hand raised. Oh, I think you're still muted.
I thought it'd be easier to ask my question to Tracy.
Hi.
So it's hi. It's coming back to the question of photography and images, and we'd love to use more of real people and real places rather than stock imagery. But I think we're often challenged by it's hard to get the perfect photo. You know, 4 out of 5 people might look great. Somebody, there's something not quite right, but that's the photo that you've got. The same with sort of, images of our office, for example. How much can you actually do to a photo to improve them for us and make them sort of website suitable? Or do you roll your eyes when we say, could you just, Photoshop an artwork this and make everybody look perfect? Or, changing backgrounds or
Yeah,
what's within the realms of possibility?
yeah. I mean, we do change backgrounds and things like that. That's absolutely fine. I think we've encouraged people to actually kind of bite the bullet and go for professional photography as like first choice, especially for staff photographs. I've rarely seen, a bad photograph when it's been taken by a professional photographer because they set up the lighting and everything, and they just seem to kind of capture something really, really good. The On the other hand, the iPhones, you can take really good photographs yourself. We've had a few clients do that as well. But I think the investment is worth it with a professional photographer because you could have those photographs on the website for 4, 5, 6 years. And it's one of the most visited pages on the website. And it's a representation of you. It's a big selling point, really, that people will come to that page and they'll see that photograph. So if it's professionally done, if it's professionally lit. And I know we all hate how we look on a photograph, but that is us. And it's almost that photo is, the photographer is going to give you the best chance of looking the best version of yourself, because the lens of the camera will be really good, the lighting will be really good, and maybe just preparing staff, showing them some other sites. We have like some really favorite sites. Glover's in particular has beautiful staff photography. But poses, and people get really upset about, how to pose or how to look at the camera. So a little bit of prep before the photographer comes, I think, is really good to make people feel really comfortable. And most photographers as well would just, they distract you. Our photographer, I don't think you were there, Ellie, for our last photographer session, but she was
No.
brilliant. She would just get you sat on a chair, and she said, I'm just going to set up a little bit, and I'm just going to, just tell me about, some of your hobbies. So I was just chatting away, and she was snapping away and just, they've got ways and tricks of like making you feel quite relaxed. And I think that's when you get the best photographs.
Yes, I think we've got. I agree with everything you said. When we do our headshots, we have a photographer who is that type of person, and we've learned that we need to brief people better in advance
Yeah.
what they wear and colours, and reassure them that they'll get to choose the photo and they can have a look and try again. And we sort of got that under control. I think the challenge now is where we go next with images of real people, where we don't always have the luxury of a professional photographer around, but we might want to capture some real situations when we're out at events.
Yeah.
I do know some people who take a photographer with them if they know there's going to be a photo opportunity, and they can then use those images in their marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
It's a bit of an
Yeah.
investment, but I suppose if you know you're going to get to use them, we should take advantage of the opportunity sometimes.
Yeah, we always say with staff photography, if you have a session booked, make sure you do some candid shots as well. So if there's a group of, the team sat around a table, or if you're sat having a coffee, make sure the photographer captures some of those candid, really natural shots. And also if the photographer's there, do a blank as well, which is, where you would sit, but take the person out and do a few backgrounds. So then when you have additional staff come, rather than having to get them back in to take one photograph, take on a quality like iPhone or something against white background. And there are lots, even on Canva, you can edit a background out, and edit the background out and then place them there. It's a good placeholder until
That's
you have
brilliant.
enough new people there to
get them
justify
back
coming
in for a session. Yes. Yeah, God,
Yeah.
that's a brilliant idea. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. I'm